Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Tuesday night. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world is treating you well. We're going to have some fun tonight. Tonight, we are doing hot takes. You come to Roto Heat for the hotness. We're going to dial it up even further. We are taking this like Hulk Hogan over the top. We are going to body slam the heaviness of fantasy football with the craziest takes you can imagine. I'm sure of that. But we're doing that with a very special guest. We are very excited to have GMenJay. You have probably seen him with the Front Yard Fantasy guys who we've been promoting a ton here recently, but he does plenty of things on his own. Jay, it's glad to have you tonight, man. Tell everybody where they can find you, what they can find you doing, and what's going on in your world.
Yeah, so first off, I appreciate you guys having me on. We were supposed to do this a few weeks ago, and my son brought home a nice stomach virus that had me laid in the bed for a full 24 hours. So that was fun, but thank you guys for having me. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at GMenJay. I am a writer for RotoUnderworld. I also have a podcast with my guy, Dan Turner, Eagle Dan FF. Right now, we are bi-weekly every other Thursday. At least through July, and then we're not 100% certain what our schedule is going to be. We will have a weekly show, just don't know exactly the day and the time and what that looks like. And then, like you said, I'm a part of the Front Yard Fantasy team with those guys over there. My official title is Director of Stuff/Things, and that's just because behind the scenes, I'm the booker. I book guests for the show. Just help out where they need help. I have a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job, so I'm not able to be on the show when they are Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So, excuse me, I help out where I can with them.
And like we always say, if you guys haven't gone over, liked, and subscribed on their stuff, do it. If you haven't liked and subscribed to ours, do it. That's a theme. YouTube likes when you like and subscribe to things.
Go figure.
Comment.
Do it.
They like that. So if you guys have questions, ask them in the chat. We answer them live like always. It's good to see our boy Jordan in here, although I don't know if I agree with his take that the guy from this week is better than the guy from last week. But
the guy last week is pretty good. I got to say, I got a lot to live up to.
It's big shoes to fill. Maybe younger shoes, but they're much bigger shoes to fill because he's the man. Jordan's the man.
Absolutely.
Mr.
I think
Sullivan.
He's like 12. I love him, but I think he's like 12 years old.
He's a younger guy, but he
knows his stuff.
He's got a wealth of knowledge. So he's a wellspring of great fantasy content. Speaking of wellspring, we'll go to the other end of it. The oldest guy on the team, Mr. Sullivan. What's up, brother?
Get off my yard. Hey, how's it going? No, it's going great. Thanks. Very happy to have Jay on. Just yet another benefit of the relationship that we formed with the Front Yard Fantasy team. That's where we had Simon was our first guest, and we had Jordan, now Jay, and JL's coming, and we'll get Josh on here yet as well. But no, I got some hot takes I want to chat with you guys about, and we'll have a little bit of fun tonight. See if we can fire up the chat and burn an hour and have some fun.
It will definitely be fun. And we have quite a few guests lined up. I mean, obviously y'all don't always see it, but Mr. Sullivan's our version of Jay for Roto Heat. He does a great job locking down. We've got some heat coming. We've had some heat already, Fish and Steffi and some of these great names on Twitter. We got Paul Churchin coming up and JL and Sam Wallace and, a lot of good guys coming and we like to do that. So if you guys have somebody you'd like to see on the show, post it in the comments. We'll, if we don't know them, we will send them messages and see if we can get to know them. Yeah. And Sullivan will get them. So speaking of get them, the Titans went out and got them.
Yeah,
they they
making June interesting in football season, which is not often.
We needed it. Some of the hot takes that were out there on Twitter before this move made was getting a little ridiculous. So we needed something, actual football to talk about.
I hear you. So what did you think about it? How do you feel about it, Mr. Sullivan? We'll start with you. Julio is changing scenery. He went from Atlanta to Nashville. How do you feel about
that? Well, I'll start on the Tennessee side of it. I like it for AJ Brown, and I know people think it's going to ding him a little bit, but what I think it'll do is it'll take away a lot of his potential double and maybe even triple coverage that he was going to see this year. It's definitely going to dry up any hope that I had for Josh Reynolds, Fitzpatrick. Is that who it is? Thank you.
Kid from Louisville. Yep.
Yeah, I think those guys are probably back of the bus guys now. I like it for Derrick Henry just because I don't know how you stack a box when you're playing against the Titans. And I guess the biggest benefactor of all of it has got to be Ryan Tannehill. And I think Julio will kind of be Julio. I think people are a little bit too far down on Julio Jones. He's still an exceptional talent in this league. So I'm not worried about him. On the Atlanta side, we'll see if Calvin Ridley can be a true alpha from game 1 through game 17. I think he can. He's an exceptional route runner. I like him a lot. I like Kyle Pitts. I think he's probably their number 2 target in that offense now. I like it for Russell Gage.
Ooh.
And I like it for Hayden Hurst because Arthur Smith likes 2 tight end sets. And that allows them to put Pitts out wide with Calvin and maybe run Hurst in the middle or tight to the line and still have some targets over the middle. So I think there's a lot of positives all around for these guys. I don't see a whole lot of downturn other than Matt Ryan's not been good without Julio Jones over the last couple of seasons. So we're going to see what he can do in a full slate without him. How about you, Jay? What do you think of this transaction?
So this is going to be really boring, but I pretty much completely agree with everything you said. There are a lot of people that are down on AJ Brown because of this. I think it's a positive, to be honest with you. Like you said, he was going to get double, triple covered. They were even talking about now, at Ole Miss, he played in the slot. He can play in the slot now. I think it's going to be a net positive. Granted, he's not going to get all the targets that everybody thought he was going to get, but he's also not going to have that coverage on him. And I really like the Hayden Hurst call. I think he's going to be a sneaky, tight end gets really ugly really quick. We're all searching for the guy that catches, 3 balls for 30 yards and a touchdown. And in this offense, they're going to be looking for playmakers outside of Ridley and Kyle Pitts. So I think he can be a serviceable bye-week tight end, someone that you can use in deeper leagues. Tannehill, man, he was already getting disrespected. And I think I saw the stat earlier since he's been in yeah, there you go. Thanks, Dan. I think I saw a stat earlier today that Tannehill has only had 3 games under 20 fantasy points since he's been in Tennessee, something along those lines. Yeah. That might not be the exact number, but it's been something unreal like that. He's had comparable numbers to Patrick Mahomes. So I think that Tannehill is not necessarily dynasty, but in redraft, he's put himself right up in consideration after the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens of the world.
Totally agree.
The thing that I didn't realize is that J-Wall is not on the show. We don't utter the name Hayden Hurst unless J-Wall's in the chat. Friend of the show, our boy J-Wall, who's been on FYF plenty of times, was a big Hayden Hurst truther, and we made fun of him so much. So J-Wall, take your victory lap because somebody's finally supporting you in the Hayden Hurst love. When you break down, the interesting thing is when you break down the target share, though, Atlanta 2020 Julio, he didn't get any targets. I mean, he had 68 targets all year.
Well, he only played 9 games.
Well, yeah. So he had 68 targets through 9 games. Like, okay. When you look at Tennessee on the flip side, they vacated. I'm just slowly working through this, but it looks somewhere around 175-ish targets between Corey, Jonnu, Adam Humphries. I mean, like, there's a lot of targets for Jonnu or for Julio there in Tennessee. Even if AJ Brown still gets his 106, even if he just stays stagnant, he gets you 1,011 touchdowns. Julio can still get you, 100 targets himself if they really wanted to do that. Obviously the Anthony Ferkser train has left the station. People are getting excited about him.
That one hurt. I picked him up at a lot of, and it was basically, I got him for free in a lot of places. At the end of last year, I was like, well, you know what? If Jonnu moves on, he could be somebody that's, a sneaky pickup. So I had him for free all over the place. So I was excited about that. One thing I'll say too, I pray that Tennessee actually throws the ball to Julio in the red zone. I never understood one of the most frustrating things that Atlanta, it blew my mind. If I had Julio Jones on my team, every single red zone trip, I would throw him one jump ball, at least one. It's what the Giants used to do with Plaxico Burress, and it worked. He's taller than everybody. He's a freak of nature. Like, I never understood why. Literally every single time, throw him one jump ball. I guarantee it would work more often than not.
There was plenty of time when Atlanta didn't even have him on the field in the red zone.
No, it blew my mind.
Let alone target him. Like when you look at a man with his numbers, I think has over I can't remember the yards totals, but it's huge, right? Like he's every season other than 2013 and 2020, he's played a minimum of 13 games. And the man is like, Brad said he had 60 something targets last year. He had 157 the year before. Mm-hmm. And this man's only had double-digit touchdowns once in his career. That's insane.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so ultimately, there's plenty of targets to go around in this offense. And I think it plays into some of the hot takes that I know at least one of you may have about the running game. I mean, think about, Derrick Henry had 378 attempts last year.
Yeah.
To go along with all these different targets that were out there. Like this offense, I know that folks had been down on Tannehill for so long. This offense hums with what they've got in place. Then you upgrade, because Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, and Jonnu Smith all together are not Julio. Like Julio is another level of player. Even though he is getting older, he was a great route runner before he started getting old. He's still a great route runner. There's nothing wrong with his game. And in this offense, he fits really nicely in to be a compliment to A.J. Brown. I really don't think they hurt each other the way that some folks think. I think that the offense is over on Facebook, extremely efficient. That's a perfect word for it. This offense is efficient. Tannehill's smart with the ball.
Yep.
I think Julio will be fine here. I think moving on from Atlanta was the smartest thing for him. Although I did like did you guys see the meme going around Facebook where it's Derrick Henry talking to Julio saying, "Hey, did you like losing in the Super Bowl? How about losing in the divisional round instead?"
I didn't see that.
that was a pretty good one.
I agree. I like that.
From a fantasy perspective, I think Julio is going to be fine. I have Julio shares. I'm not looking to trade him because he's going to be a startable player.
Yeah, and I think he's got more years available than that people think. I think he's going to be, usable for at least 2, possibly 3 years, and everybody's treating him like this is his last year. So I'm with you. I think you're better off just hanging on to him.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
So what else, Mr. Sullivan? Anything else you want to talk about?
The Ravens, they gave Gus Edwards a 2-year deal, $10.3 million extension, I believe. I read a stat today that it makes him the 13th highest paid running back per season, which is weird. I guess my question is, and I'll start with you, Jay, what does this do to your opinion of J.K. Dobbins?
Doesn't really do a whole lot because I already factored that Gus Edwards was going to be there. He was there last year. I already said recently that's why I feel like with having both Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson capping his upside, that's the only thing that's held me back from having J.K. Dobbins as potential top 5 running back. I think his ceiling, while both of those guys are there, is more of the back end running back one. He's going to have some huge weeks, but as we know, Lamar Jackson's going to take some touchdowns away. Obviously they love Gus Edwards. He's going to be there. He would have to be unbelievably efficient and have a lot of involvement in the passing game, which I think he will, to have that top 5 season. It's within the realm of possibility, but on this offense with those other options available, he's more likely going to be on the back end RB1, high end RB2 range.
Brad, what do you think, man?
Well, and when you look at Edwards, he's consistent. You're going to get about 700 yards. You'll get a little bit of reception sprinkled in there. He's a guy that you can roster, and in a pinch, you might get something out of him. I wouldn't say he's a guy that you're going to want to lean on for anything, but at the end of the year, you're going to look back and be like, wow, did he really have 700-800 yards? Okay. And that's okay. That offense is built that way. And you may see a little bit of a dip because they want to potentially look more at the passing game. And that's perfectly fine. I see Dobbins continuing to take on more of a workload because he can handle it. I have no doubts that Edwards will still be involved, but he's never, outside of last year, actually, he's never really been involved. He was efficient with the ball in his hands in the passing game last year. I'm looking at his stats. He had 9 catches for 129 yards last year. That was career highs across the board. yards per reception was almost 15 yards. Like they did a good job getting him out in space, but he only had 9 targets. So this guy's going to get you some rushing attempts, and that's about it. J.K. Dobbins, I expect to be in the conversation for, kind of back, like you said, Jay, back in RB1 type conversation. But there's a lot of nice RBs in this season, so that may be tough.
Yeah, I guess I'm the odd man out on this, and I think this impacts Dobbins more so, and I see him more as a mid-range RB2, simply because if you look at his numbers in his rookie season, once he finally kicked Mark Ingram to the curb and started to take over in that offense as their primary lead back, I believe he scored a touchdown in the last 7 straight games, and he had a league-leading 6.6 yards per carry. That regresses. I don't see how it doesn't. The other thing that really goes against him compared to the other top-end RBs is targets. When it's time to check down, Lamar just takes off, right? Like that's when he goes and runs versus checking down to either Edwards or to Dobbins, or even if Justice Hill managed to get on the field a little bit. And he'll be involved as well, right? Like the Ravens always use 1 to 2 to 3 backs. I know that there's been talk out there that they want to get Dobbins more involved in the passing game, but has Greg Roman ever had a running back that he's targeted in his offense? Like, I don't ever remember that in any of the spots that he's been. So Dobbins is an exceptional talent, but without the workload to get him up into that range, I see how some people have him top 5. I don't see how he gets there. I do see maybe RB, like you guys are saying, 12, 13, 14. But I think at the end of the day, he kind of settles in at about 15, 16. And there's about 32 guys in my top 12 at running back right now. Like there's so many talented guys. So
there really
who knows how they're going to shake out at the end of the day.
There you go.
One more last little note. It wouldn't be a Tuesday night if I didn't talk about Aaron Rodgers. So it sounds like he's not showing up to the mandatory mini camp, and that the Packers have the option of finding him. And I think it's about $93,000. Do the Packers fine him, or do they just let it roll? And how far does Aaron Rodgers take this? Like, where does this end? Is he prepared to sit out the entire season? Is he prepared to go host Jeopardy? Like, what's going to happen, Brad? Is he ever going to just shut up and play, or is he going to hold this out as long as he can?
Well, he's a veteran. It's the off season. Look at how many vets don't show up to the different OTAs, and he's like, I don't really start to get concerned about this until we get to training camp. Then if you see him sitting out, okay, yes. If I was Green Bay and as a Detroit fan, they should trade him. Just get rid of him. Like, be done with it. Let Jordan Love and his awesome accuracy take over and make the North a better place.
Don't besmirch the name of Blake Bortles, who's on the roster now. So
the GOAT has arrived. Yeah, probably what happens is they're not going to fine him, because if you fine him, you are just asking for him to flip you the bird and walk away.
Well, that's the nail in the coffin, right? Like, if they do that, like, forget it.
Yeah.
So in my mind, he's going to sit out because he's a veteran. He doesn't have to be there. He knows the offense. He knows what to do. If this happens come, mid to late July, we start hearing these conversations still rumbling. Okay, then you might, you could see Aaron Rodgers sitting out. But even that, they've taken away a preseason game. Like, he knows everything when it comes to this offense. Why does he have to be there for training camp? He could walk in, suit up, and go and be fine.
Yeah,
What about you, Jay? What's your gut tell you?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to fine him. I think they're going to do everything in their power to get him to come back to Green Bay. I honestly think he's played his last down as a Green Bay Packer. I think either he suits up for another team, or he just decides that he's going to go host Jeopardy. I think he's that type of guy. Like, he doesn't even talk to his own family right now. So obviously he holds on to grudges. He's not afraid to do what he feels is right. And I think that he's done with them. I think that last year, drafting Jordan Love, still not getting him any wide receivers. And I think they said that the straw that broke the camel's back was he was talking up Jake Kumaro, and then the next day they cut him. So if something like that is going to get under his skin when he's arguably one of the best quarterbacks of the past 10 or so years, then I think he's as petty as our friend, the petty pumpkin, Justin from 14P, and I don't think he is going to be back with the Packers.
I hope that's correct.
I agree. Jared Goff, the top quarterback in the division, or is that Kirk Cousins?
I still think it's Kirk Cousins,
Yeah,
but
you
I
gotta
think
go
people
Kirk.
are way too low on Jared Goff, to be
I
totally
agree
honest.
with you there, 100%.
I've been watching quite a bit of camp film so far. His hands looking good. He's throwing the ball well. I know he's got tiny hands, but he's throwing the ball well. The deep ball looks good. Like if they can
looks good in shirts and shorts, does he?
He's looking
What do his
mighty
quads
sexy.
look like? That's what everybody wants to know. What is Jared's
It is
quads
quad
look
season for sure.
like? Jared quad.
Yeah, his quads have never been a strong point. That's for sure. That offensive line is what's really going to be the thing that I think helps them over the top, because that's a strong offensive line.
And he hasn't had that for
Ever.
probably his entire career, right? So we'll see what happens.
Right.
That wraps up news and notes, boss. That's all I got.
All right. So now we're to the time where we're either going to drive people crazy or we're going to just be telling them stuff they already know. It's hot take time, people. So get your wet naps out, because we're going to sprinkle some hot sauce all over it. All right. We'll start with our guest because we don't want to steal his hot takes. Give us your first hot take, and why do you believe what you believe?
So on our on our show on Thursday, we had a My Guys episode, and he was one of my guys. I said he could potentially be the RB1 overall, but for this hot take, I'm going to have it a little more realistic. I think Joe Mixon is going to be a top 5 fantasy running back in 2021. Granted, just like anything else, this is if he can stay healthy, which I think he will be able to. This offense is going to be improved. Joe Burrow's coming back. Obviously, they drafted Jamar Chase. He's one of the few running backs that has a backfield to himself. Gio Bernard moved on to the Buccaneers. And for somebody to be a top tier, top 5 running back, you want volume and you want targets. And he's going to get both of those in this offense. He was running back 9 in points per game in 2018 with 14.3. And through 6 games last year, he played 6 games last year. He was running back 11. He had more points per game last season than Zeke, than Deandre Swift, than Antonio Gibson, and Austin Eckler. And he can catch the ball. They just haven't thrown him all. They finally started to do it last year. He had 8 yards per catch, which was 9th among running backs. I just think this is a season he finally puts it all together and has that monster season.
Well, think about it. Gio was given 59 targets, 124 rushing attempts last year. I mean, just that alone. Now, obviously, Samaje Perine is going to eat into that.
Right. Yeah, watch out.
I mean, Chris Evans would be the name to watch as the possible guy who would become the backup. But even that, it's a rookie. Like, this year should be if you're going to get great production from him, this is going to be that year.
Exactly.
Sully, what do you think?
I don't disagree. I guess the only thing I question is they're only going to play with one football in Cincinnati, and there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. You have 3 viable pass catching options. Mixon obviously is the talented back, and he should be on the field for the vast majority of it. Should see 65% plus of their carries. It's the targets I question, and it's the coaching that I question, and the usage that I question. I agree 1,000%. If he gets those targets and he gets that opportunity, he has the skill set. That was an incredibly deep running back class, 2017, and he might be the most talented of them, to be honest. So if he can get the targets to go along with the carries that I think he's going to get, I absolutely see him getting there. I'm just concerned that he's going to get that usage. I don't know. They should score more too.
Bengals do bingle from time to time, so
yeah,
I can definitely see that.
There's a reason that they are who they are, but at the same time, there's no question that talent for sure.
There you go. And nobody in the comments has thrown any water on it, so I'm just going to say
Dan must have left because he gave me a bunch of crap for that. So I'm surprised. Yeah, he must have. He's still recovering from his bachelor party this weekend. So
nice! Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah, congrats, man. So there you go. Mixon, RB1. If you can get him, go get him. I actually traded for him in a few spots this offseason because I also agree with that.
And actually, if you want a reason to cheer for Joe Mixon this year, I talked about mine and Dan's show the other day. He said that if Joe Mixon finishes as the RB1, he will get a tattoo of my choosing of the Giants. So
love it.
There's a reason to cheer for Joe Mixon this year. So
it's going to be a Bill Parcells face tattoo.
He loves Eli Manning so much. I think it would have to be Eli Manning holding up 2 Super Bowl trophies. I think, although his fiance is a Giants fan, so maybe I'll just let her make the decision.
Shouldn't we do a Jim Fossil tribute tattoo?
That would be a good one. That would be a good one.
Full back.
Oh, just all over. So before we get to our next hot take, we do have lots of things to bring up. So our boy Josh, we love you, Josh. Josh Kelly toast ? I have a chance to add him to my team or the 4-8 pick in Superflex. This pains me, but I'm going to say toast. Really? I don't know what this new coaching staff is going to do, but it seems like Eckler, and then they've even done some other things in the offseason. I don't know how they feel about Kelly. As much as I loved Kelly last year, and as much as I still think he can be a talented runner, I don't know if it's going to happen there. They added Roundtree in the 6th round, and I like Roundtree a lot out of Missouri. I think he's a really powerful back. But the other side of it is I've seen Joe Lombardi's offense in action. Unfortunately, a little too close to home because he was with Detroit for some time. I don't know if Kelly fits with that type of scheme, the way that they run their running backs. But I'll lean toast. At the 4-8, it doesn't really matter. If you want to take a shot on him, take a shot on him.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this one. I wouldn't say he's necessarily toast, but I would rather take the lottery ticket of the 408 and see if you can get somebody, maybe a 408, man. It's slim pickings there. But it is super flex, so maybe take an Ian Mond or somebody, especially, take one of these guys who's not necessarily expected to jump in right away. There's some value to be had late, for the next few years. So I think you have a better chance of that 408 turning into something valuable. If you want a guy that maybe could be a flex play if he gets some decent touches, then you're looking at Josh Kelly. I'd rather take the 408.
I think I'll take the back. I'm not expecting to get anything out of the 408. Austin Eckler is obviously their lead back and a talented running back. He has a career-high 3 rushing touchdowns, so somebody's going to score on the ground there other than him. I do agree Roundtree looks pretty solid, and Justin Jackson is there as well. So I think it's a true competition between those 3 backs for secondary touches in that offense, but I just don't see what you're getting out of the 408. So I would take the flyer and take Kelly. He's young. He's got a shot.
There you go, Josh. I like it. Also, he wants to know, also wondering if Crowder is worth holding. Jets are trying to restructure, I heard. Was hoping he'd land in another spot, Detroit, Atlanta, etc. It's tough because I was a Crowder truther for the longest time. Unfortunately, he's just been in the wrong
He's
spot.
a Blue Devil, so I love Jameson Crowder. So one of the few productive NFL players from Duke. But
yeah, if you've got the spot on your roster and you've been holding him this long, I just give it a little longer.
I hope he gets released, and I'm hearing stuff like I'm an insider. I read stuff that he's not too hot for restructuring. So, but then again, if he gets released, nobody's giving him the $10 million or whatever that he's making this year. So he probably does. And Jordan just brought it up in the chat, and that's where I was going to go with it.
Thanks for stealing our thunder, Jordan.
I have been holding on to and scooping up Jamison Crowder late in startups because of the hope and prayer that he gets released and lands in Kansas City. And I think it's incredibly possible. That's my dream for him. And if the worst case scenario is he stays in New York, I think he helps Zach Wilson a lot because he's going to be a dependable target in the middle of the field. And he takes a hell of a lot of pressure off Elijah Moore to produce right away out of the gate. So I think he still holds value. I'd hang on to him.
Yep, I completely agree, especially if it's PPR or even half PPR. I know, quote unquote standard is pretty much dead, but there are some people who still play it out there for exactly the reason you said. I've got a feeling that he winds up in Kansas City. If he does wind up in Detroit, he's really the type of player that can be productive anywhere in just about any offense. He doesn't have that much of a ceiling, but you're better off hanging on to him in hopes he does wind up in an explosive offense like that.
Yeah, he's just got to stay healthy. That's his biggest thing.
Yep. There you go, Josh. Hold him. Don't fold him. What up, Mike? Although I do love your name. Daddy's home. That's nice.
Hey, Mike, thanks for being here.
Glad you're here, buddy. All right, Mr. Sullivan, hot take number 2. What do you got?
So there's never been a quarterback in the NFL to throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in the same season. This year, there will be 3. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts.
Whoa.
I said no J-Wall talk, all right? Philadelphia is not Hayden Hurst, Philadelphia Eagles.
So remember, we have a 17th game, so that's absolutely going to help these guys. And I got to read some stuff that I took some notes. So Jalen Hurts in his 3 full starts threw for 847 yards and ran for 238 last year. 16-game pace is 4,517 passing yards and 1,269 rushing yards. Clearly, he's not going to play at that pace. But over a 17-game season, if he stays healthy, I think he absolutely can get there. Kyler threw for 3,971 and ran for 819. So give him the extra game. He's got to get on his horse on the ground a little bit. Passing, he should blow through that. And we all know what Lamar can do. And the biggest question mark for him, what did he run for 1,286 in his record-breaking season? So the ground game's easy for him. But can he get to 4,000 yards? Like the year that he was the MVP, he threw for 3,127 yards. He was ridiculously efficient. I think he threw for over 30 some odd touchdowns in that season. He threw for 5 touchdowns in a game 3 times on like less than 15 attempts. So can he get to 4,000 yards? I think with the improvements to their receiving core, I'm a big Bateman guy. I like Tylan Wallace. I don't think Sammy Watkins gives you much, but I still like Mark Andrews. So I think the possibility is there for all 3 of them to get there. That's hot take number 1 for me.
Sammy Watkins week 1. That's what you want.
Yeah, totally.
Other than that, that's another story. But wow, I definitely think Kyler gets there. I like that. You know, he was banged up too. So yep. I definitely think that of those 3 guys, there's no question that he can get there pretty easily. The other 2, it's the passing. I think the rushing, I could see Jalen Hurts getting there. Obviously, we know Lamar Jackson can. The passing, man, I don't know if I do think Lamar Jackson has the weapons to do it. I don't know. I love Devonta Smith. I wanted the Giants to take him in the first round, but you know, Rager's still a question. I don't make me say the name J. John, start laughing. Ertz is probably
Travis Fulgham, baby.
Ooh, watch out. You know, he's the Tyler Higbee of wide receivers. He had 4 games and everybody anointed him, and then he just fell off the face of the earth. But
he had just as many as DJ Shark, right?
Now, there you
Don't
go.
get me started on that crap.
I'm a LaVisca guy, so I don't know if you knew that or not, Brad. So we could get going there. But
I'm still mad about that stupid poll question from last week. But that's a whole other story.
Oh, I know. That's right. You're a LaVisca guy too, right, Sully?
Well, compared to DJ, for sure. I think, and I am a LaVisca guy. I like him quite a bit. So we'll see if Urban Meyer ruins him or not.
So I don't hate this as a hot take, but I don't know that I trust Nick Sirianni. You know, the struggle for me with Philadelphia is just I don't really love or hate Jalen Hurts. Like, he always kind of seems like the guy who's just not had the best luck, whether it was in college, you know, obviously going to the pros, his head coach gets fired, you know, now he's moving on to somebody new. But Sirianni brings a lot of question in my mind, and I don't know how they're going to deploy this offense. Like, you could make the case in my mind where Miles Sanders is an RB1 because they give him a ton of touches, but then they went and got Carry-On and they got some of these other guys. Like, okay, are they going to be a ground and pound and they're really going to try to distribute a lot of rushing? Well, then that hurts his 4,000 yards passing, you know, because then he's probably more like 3,200 yards passing. I mean, like, I can't figure out, and I've done a lot of research into Sirianni and what he does with his offenses. I just don't know between him and what is it, Steichen? Yeah, Shane Steichen's the offensive coordinator.
Right.
I don't know what to believe with what they're going to do with this offense. So I don't hate it as a hot take. I don't know. Like, I can't say whether or not I would agree with you or not, because Sirianni didn't do anything in Indianapolis. Frank Reich really had his finger on the pulse, because I'm here in Indy. I hear all the conversations from the local people. I listen to all the talking heads, and it's like Frank Reich was very involved with the offensive game plan and what they did with Phillip Rivers, and even before that with Brissett. So I don't know. Kyler, I could see it because they added, you know, all sorts of weapons, and they keep making that team better. You know, why not? 4,000 and 1,000. Lamar, I could even see it. You know, he's gotten a little bit better every year. He continues to develop, and I trust the player. He seems like he's a smarter kid, and he works hard. And They've added pieces to help him out. It isn't just Hollywood Brown and a bunch of yuck. Bateman is as much as people aren't really sure what to make of him, Bateman's a sexy piece. I would love to get him on my team because I think he can be a back-end wide receiver one within the few years. I don't think he's this year, but
agree.
I really like Bateman. So I don't hate the hot take. The Philadelphia piece of it, like if you'd have told me Miami with Tua, okay, maybe.
Really?
I'm trying to think of another young quarterback. Like,
how about you slide Josh Allen in as the fourth?
That's who I thought.
There we go.
That's who I thought you were going to say. I thought
originally I had it at 4 of them with Josh Allen. I just don't see Josh Allen rushing for 1,000 yards.
That's what I was about to say.
I could see him rushing I could see him rushing for 15 touchdowns, but I don't see him rushing for 1,000 yards.
His yardage wasn't that much. He didn't have that much yardage.
4,000 yards passing in 17 games is only 235 a game. So I think it's obtainable for both of them, but we'll see.
And I did hear that Sirianni is going to choose his starting running back by playing paper, rock, scissors, and whoever beats him is going to be the starter for that week. So just
isn't it scissors, rock, paper?
No, I know the FYF guys make fun of me. They say it's rock, paper, scissors. I call it paper, rock, scissors. You know what the game is.
I'm with you, Jay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Always. You're my partner.
That's right.
Way to go, guys.
Thanks, buddy. What do you got for a sizzler there, Mr. Menendez?
So I tried to think about it. So my first hot take when I was coming up with them this week was Mixon being a top 5 running back. Well, that obviously went to our guys.
Sorry to steal that from you.
Because so many people have been down on Mixon, I was like, oh, this is going to be a hot take. Nobody agrees with me. I went and traded for him in so many spots. No. For me, I guess I'm going to have to say, and I'll go homer on this, but I'm going to say Deandre Swift is a top 7 fantasy running back this year. I'm going to say top 7 because I don't think he makes top 5. I can think of at least 5 to 6 running backs that I think are going to be better and going to be stronger. But, with the Todd Gurley news and the Jamal Williams news, a lot of people are concerned about Deandre Swift. Look at what Detroit has on that offense. Deandre Swift is going to get very involved. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. I'm a very big Detroit fan, so I listen. I talk to people that are in the know with the Lions. Anthony Lynn has been practicing with Deandre Swift outside of the box to see what he can do in passing situations. They're going to flex him out in the slot. I have no doubt they're going to do it. Give me Deandre Swift as a mid running back 1 this year, and I'm happy about that. I love the player. I think the upside is there. And I think you get him the ball in space, he's very hard to bring down. He does a good job of missing tackles and doing all the fun things. So give me DeAndre Swift as a mid RB1. I don't know how much of a hot take it is, but
it's not hot enough.
Yeah. I wanted to go higher.
I don't know, man.
I can't get him in the top 5.
Really down on him with all this coach speak with the whole Todd Gurley thing. And then the Jamal Williams, type A back and type B back and riding the hot hand. So if you would have said this 2 months ago, I'd say that's not a hot take. But the way that people are discounting Swift right now, I think it kind of is. Maybe not, not crazy spicy. Maybe just like a jalapeno popper versus a habanero, something like that. But
I didn't ghost pepper it. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Carolina Reaper. Yeah.
I'd like it more of a hot take at top 5, even top 3, because I think he's exceptionally talented. I think Anthony Lynn has proven that in his offenses, multiple running backs will be getting touches. And there's always that underlying factor in Detroit that they don't have the greatest weapons in terms of pass catchers. So it makes a ton of sense what you said, Brad, to line Swift up, line him up out wide as much as you can, because he's probably one of the best pass catchers on that roster right now. So he's super good. Like Clove just says, he's got so much talent. I agree. He's the most talented player on that roster. Yeah. I think I read that the Lions haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher in 23 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, is Barry Sanders the last guy to do it?
Yes. And Joique Bell was close to 1,000 yards, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Like, I think that was the next closest guy. It was the Joique Bell, Reggie Bush era where they were getting dangerously close. Otherwise, no.
I remember watching Barry Sanders on a TV that it was like a 9-inch black and white screen, but it was like 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. Like, you could kill a man by throwing that TV at him. And if the screen was like this big, yeah, exactly. That just blows my mind.
It was a beautiful thing. Like, me growing up in the 90s in Detroit, going to the Pontiac Silverdome to see him roasting teams. just for fun. Like it felt like at times like he would just stop and wait for them to catch up, and then he'd bounce. Like Barry Sanders was a sight to see. Like live was beautiful.
Most impressive 3 yards you would ever see in your entire life,
or the best negative run you would ever see. Like
that's true. That's true.
As a Vikings fan, it pained me to love Barry Sanders as much as I did. He's my favorite running back of all time.
He was always on TV because, you young bucks like Jordan, we didn't get all the games. You got whatever was on TV, and we liked it that way. Not really, but I just wanted to sound like an old man yelling at a cloud.
Yeah, the city that I grew up in Canada had Detroit, the Detroit feed. So I got a ton of way more Lions content than anyone should ever get. But loved. Beat in North Carolina. I always got before the Panthers, it was always the Redskins, and then whatever the big game was. So yeah.
Well, but that wouldn't have been terrible in the 90s. You had Mark Rippon.
Well, as a Giants fan, I didn't want to watch the Redskins.
Well, yeah, you didn't care about that.
I did get to see division games though, but
HD. What the hell is HD?
You guys didn't have the ticket? Yeah. No, the only tickets we had is when we bought them to go.
Exactly. We had payphones and 2 lines in the house to have no internet.
If you're really cool, you had a beeper, which you didn't know what to do with it. When somebody beeped you, you're like, well, what do I do with this? There's no phone anywhere nearby.
Right. Got to go find a payphone.
Yep.
I'm happy to say I never had one of those things.
Yeah, I never did either.
Cool.
I did. Yeah, my first job, I had to have one. But other than that, I didn't have to have one for long. Thank God. Okay, so I think those are the only comments in the chat. All right, Jay, what's your next hot take?
I've got one that's positive about a player and one that's negative about a player. And I think I'm feeling a little salty. I want to go negative on a player.
Love it.
James Robinson will be nothing more than a back-end running back too. There's a lot of talk.
Boom, 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 boom.
A lot of talk about, Travis Etienne. The landing spot wasn't that great. Now, I will say, Urban Meyer does scare the living crap out of me because nobody knows if this is just going to be Chip Kelly, all over again, and it's just a disaster. I will say, James Robinson was a true league winner last year. That term gets thrown around so much, but he was completely free, either a really late round pick or you got him off the waiver wire. And he was a top 10 back, points per game, 17.9 points per game, total points, 250. And he ran for over 1,000 yards, 10 total touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, but it was all volume. He was not that efficient. He had a 62% snap count, he was 7th overall for running backs in snap share, 6th in total rushes, number 1 in opportunity share. But his true yards per carry was 4.3, which was 32nd out of all running backs. And true yards per carry is something from Player Profiler where they take out runs of 10 yards or more, and that basically just so the big runs don't skew the yards per carry. That was behind the superstars, Wayne Gallman. I didn't think we'd say Samaje Perine twice in this show, but here we are. Wayne Gallman, Samaje Perine, and Ty Johnson. So if you want to get rid of the true yards per carry and go to just standard yards per carry, it was only 4.5, and he was still behind Gallman, behind Damian Harris and Brian Hill. His breakaway run rate was 2.9, which was 48th in the league. So he was our guy Rocky, who's in a couple chats with us, Rocky Dynasty Addict, love him. He's still all in on James Robinson. He likes him a lot, but I just don't think the volume's not going to be there. Draft capital does matter. They took Travis Etienne in the first round to use him. Now, I don't think he's going to be a bell cow or anything like that, but James Robinson isn't efficient enough to be productive on little carries. And Trevor Lawrence, while he's not a mobile quarterback, he can run. And he had 18 rushing touchdowns in 3 years at Clemson, so he's going to take away some touchdowns in the red zone. You pair that with our guy Sully, Laviska Shenault. They use him out of the backfield. They use him all over. So you got Visca taking away some touches, Etienne taking away some touches, Trevor Lawrence potentially taking away some red zone. You got Tim Tebow, who I guarantee you he will score 1 touchdown at least in the red zone. I think they're going to use him as a poor man's Taysom Hill. It's going to happen. I know. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying they will because it's Urban Meyer. That was more of a joke than anything. But I just don't think that the volume's going to be there for him to be anything more than a back-end RB2. honestly, I'd be more comfortable with him as a flex play.
So, when Urban Meyer signed with Jacksonville, I tried to do a little bit of a deep dive into what he did at Ohio State, looking at the last 3-4 years of what his offense looked like to get an understanding, because I'm like you, Jay, I don't know how I feel about Urban Meyer as an NFL coach. He runs the ball a crap ton. Like, even if you just look at the last couple of years, he was deploying 2 and 3 running backs throughout the season. 2 of them were viable. Like if you look at his last season, 2018, I think, it was J.K. Dobbins and kid went to Dallas, the grill, Mike Weber. I'm like, Weber Grill.
First word. Sounds
Mike
like.
Weber.
It's going to say, I feel like you're playing a game on FYF.
Word association. I got Josh is with me all over again. Great. I'm saying everything and nothing all at once. So J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber were the 2 that he used in his last full season, and they both had close to 200 carries throughout the season, plus a little bit of reception sprinkled in. I think they were in the 20 to 30 range each. I'd have to verify the numbers. So Urban can use multiple running backs. So I think James Robinson has something. I just don't know how I feel about what he has, because even if you look at Weber and Dobbins, who they were still both drafted players, both excelled in some area, where James Robinson was a UDFA that is a hard worker. And that's what got him into the league, because he worked harder than everybody else, and that was really like, I don't think he can do what ETN can do, or really anyone else, Visca or any of these other guys you mentioned. So I don't hate the take. I don't know how I feel about it. Kind of like the Sully's take with Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I could see it, but Urban also can use multiple running backs. But is it Visca as running back too? Maybe. What do you think, Sully?
I think I agree. I don't know what's going to happen there, and that's what sort of clouds my decision on this one. I think it's sort of like Cincinnati. There's only so many footballs to go around. And the name that we haven't mentioned that makes you kind of sick is Carlos Hyde. Like, he brought him there for a reason. So Urban Meyer apparently was pretty upset when Kadarius Toney didn't fall to him in the first round. That's what he wanted to do. Jay's Giants grabbed him up instead. So did he draft ETN in a Kadarius Toney sort of way? Does he want to make him Percy Harvin / Curtis Samuel? Perhaps. So are then Robinson and Carlos Hyde going to be involved? Perhaps. So I just don't think the Jags are going to be as good as people want to think they are. Like, there's some talent there, and absolutely they've upgraded at quarterback. But if this was a Darrell Bevel offense, I'd feel a lot better for James Robinson than I do in an Urban Meyer. Who knows what we're going to get? So I think you got him right around where he's probably going to be. And you're bang on 100% correct. He had the largest percentage of team touches out of any running back in the league last year. And much like Leonard Fournette the year before, it was all volume-based, no efficiency, and that's sort of a Jacksonville trademark. So I'm not going to argue that. I agree with it. I think I'm down.
I like being on with you guys versus Dan. Dan always tells me I'm an idiot. You guys tell me that I'm right. So maybe I'll just start coming on with you guys and just drop Dan. I love Dan. He's my guy.
Don't hate us, Dan.
Love you, Dan.
And I think when we get to Sully's next take, if it's the take that I would assume he's going to go with,
yeah, it is.
then we'll have plenty to not agree on, and we'll mess around, But so far, your takes haven't been crazy enough for me to go, you're an idiot. So if you have an idiot take, I will tell you you're an idiot. But I'm not going to just throw that card around willy nilly. Sully, what's your? Let's give me that stinky take of yours.
Well, I know Jordan's here for me to talk about Kyle Pitts, so I might as well talk about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts will have the best rookie tight end season in NFL history. And he's going to finish as a top 3 fantasy tight end this season.
So who's your top 2? Obviously Travis Kelce, but who's number 2?
Waller.
Okay.
Actually, it could be Pitts. We'll see.
So
do you guys know who's the record holder for yardage? Let's try that again, Sully. NFL all-time record holder in yards and touchdowns in a single season at tight end.
No, I was just looking up stats for rookie tight ends to see.
I think Ingram had the best rookie season, didn't he?
Sorry?
I believe Ingram had the best tight end rookie season, did he not?
So if you go all the way back to 1961, Mike Ditka.
Ditka.
had
Ditka.
1,076 receiving yards.
That's his signature right up there.
And 12 touchdowns. So
Nice.
last season, 2 tight ends went over 1,000 yards, and neither one of them scored 12 times. So that includes Kelsey and Waller, who went over 1,000 yards. I think they both went over 1,100 yards. Waller taking over tight end 1 this year. I could see that. So again, benefit of a 17-game schedule. Julio Jones is gone. Pitts is probably a wide receiver more than a tight end in the way they line him up. 63.3 yards a game, 0.7 touchdowns a game. He's the record holder.
Plus an extra game. So that'll help out.
That's what I mean, right?
I'm gonna give folks the stats for you. You know, the rookie tight. So these are rookie tight ends and their numbers. Ditkin 61. So I was showing the stats that you were showing there. You were talking about there, Sully. Anything in the 2000s, we got Jeremy Shockey in 2002. He had 894 and 2. Your boy Evan Ingram in New York there, 722 and 6. We're not seeing a lot in the 2000s. Our boy John Carlson from the Seattle Seahawks. Any of you Carlson fans out there? He was a thing for a minute.
Yeah, he was.
The numbers aren't looking good for Pitts. I mean, when you look at rookie tight ends, you're not seeing a lot of.
That's
action.
Cool. You know, we can pull up stats and talk about them, but which one of those guys would you say came out with the skill set of Kyle Pitts? None of them.
Ingram, I think Ingram coming out was a very dynamic tight end. I think people would have thought he's kind of, and I actually think people did think he was kind of the next big thing at tight end. He's just been hurt a lot.
And right? Howard as well that year, right?
Right.
Like those are probably.
I wanted Njoku over Ingram. I really did. That was.
And then recently you have, TJ Hawkinson, who I really like, and you have Noah Fant, who I really like. And I don't think either one of them are the talent necessarily in their rookie season that Pitts has. Plus, it's a perfect storm for where he's landed. Neither one of these guys or any of those guys on that list have landed in a spot where they're going to see that much volume and that much opportunity as a rookie. So, I don't know. We'll see.
My concern is that, and we talked a little bit pre-show, and I haven't been able to find the numbers. So somebody in the chat finds the numbers. How does Pitts handle double coverage? Because that's what he's going to see all year with Julio gone. Him and Ridley are going to have to fight. Now, Ridley, we've seen beat double coverage.
Yeah.
He is very dynamic. I haven't been able to lock down numbers of how Pitts can handle that because, if you look at his progression, he did great 2 years ago and he did great last year. So he's put up the numbers and you see the athletic profile. But when it comes down to the gritty physical side of the game where you have to fight through a linebacker and a safety or a cornerback and a safety to get open, can you do it in enough time for Matt Ryan to get you the ball while he's under pressure? Because that offensive line is not great, That's my struggle with thinking Pitts can be anything this year outside of high-end tight end 2, maybe low-end tight end 1, because we know we've talked plenty of times on this show. You only got to do 9 fantasy points a week to be a tight end 1 or something.
9.4.
Yeah. So, he could be a tight end 1. I don't think he could be in the top 5 just because Hawkinson is going to push him way up there if he isn't already. You got Kittle, you got Kelsey, some of these guys that are getting older but are still top guys.
Yeah.
I don't hate. I mean, obviously, you've seen me make fun of you a lot for the Pitts love, but it's more so just because you're standing on a hill and I want to try to push you off it. So.
My biggest concern, in all honesty, is Arthur Smith and his offense, and is he going to want to run the ball more than Atlanta has in the past, right? Like Matt Ryan throws like 650 passes a year in 16 games. If they run the same offense, he could throw the ball 700 times this year, and I don't think it's crazy to think that Pitts could have a 20% target share. That's a lot. That's like 135 to 140 targets, right? So, but how much does he run the football and how much is Mike Davis, even though he's not the greatest running back in the world, involved? I think that's probably the biggest threat to Ridley, Pitts, Gage, Hurst, all those guys. Jay, am I out to lunch? What do you think?
No, top 3 is a little steep for me.
It's supposed to be spicy.
I know I like it. I could definitely see it happen. I think you hit the nail on the head with he is in the absolute perfect position for it to happen. He landed in the perfect spot with this offense. Look at the offenses that they're going to have to compete with in the division. Tampa Bay can score points. New Orleans, even with Taysom Hill back there, Jameis, they're still going to be able to score points. I think Carolina's going to be much improved. Jordan's guys, I really like Darnold and Carolina with the weapons they have. They're going to have to score points. So I would still probably have him tight end 5, tight end 6. I can see it happening, but I would still put Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, and Hawkinson above him. I think Mark Andrews has a bounce back. I think that Lamar, if they do air it out a little more, I think he's going to be a big beneficiary of them getting some wide receiver weapons. He's not going to be treated as the wide receiver 1 to opposing defenses. So if he gets some touchdowns, I think that Mark Andrews is going to have a bounce back year. So I would have a hard time taking him over any of the guys that I mentioned here just a second ago.
You both make valid points.
There you go. And you're not an idiot. You're just a misguided youth. That's all.
That's the nicest thing people I think I've heard all day. So thank you for that.
Our boy MathQuest over on YouTube. Is there anyone you guys can think of that is this year's AJ Green, a veteran with a history of success, but it's time to realize now before your drafts that it's over?
That's a good one.
That's a really good question.
You know what? This might be a little hot takey, maybe. Fits with the show.
It's all about, brother.
Adam Thielen. I was actually in on him a little bit, but
Sully said,
I'm sorry, Sully. I gotta say, he's getting up there in age. 14 touchdowns last year. That's going to be hard to do again this year, especially the more Justin Jefferson, although he was already the alpha, he only had 7 touchdowns. So let's say he takes a couple of those away. Irv Smith developed, he takes some away. I think the Vikings defense is going to be better than it was last year, so they might not have to air it out quite as much. He didn't have 1,000 yards last year. He only had 925. He did have 74 catches, which is decent. I wouldn't say it's going to be as steep as a AJ Green decline from last year, but Thielen is somebody who, he was top 10 in points per game last year, and I don't think he's going to come anywhere close to that this year.
I agree with all of that, other than I just don't. I wasn't agreeing with you until you said you didn't see it as steep as AJ Green. So AJ Green had 100 targets last year. If Adam Thielen gets 100 targets this year, he is still, in my opinion, a mid or wide receiver 2 probably. AJ Green fell off the map. AJ Green was drafted 4th overall in 2011. Julio Jones went 2 picks later at 6. I don't see Julio Jones falling off the face of the earth. I really don't have anybody that I could share that off the top of my head in that sort of seasoned veteran age range. The closest I could get is Sammy Watkins. I think just falls right off a cliff, but I don't think I think his cliff is about the height of a curb.
He's already been there.
His cliff is the height of a curb on the side of the road. So I don't have anybody better than Adam Thielen. So I'll be grumpy and agree.
Thielen is more of I think he's going to be more of a wide receiver 3 versus the high end wide receiver 2 with some wide receiver 1 weeks.
I don't disagree with that because I also think Justin Jefferson is going to disappoint a lot of people as well this year.
Yeah, when the question first came in, my first thought was Robert Woods, only because I just don't know what's going to happen with that offense. So everybody's super excited, but I've experienced Matthew Stafford for his entire career. He needs an offensive line to keep him upright. He's hurt a lot because he gets hit a lot, and LA could be the worst offensive line he'll ever have in his career, which isn't good for him. So where's going to take the hit? Tyler Higbee's looked good. The Van Jefferson hype train because Jalen Ramsey was talking about a few months back was there. You obviously have Cooper Kupp, who's the guy there. I mean, I just don't know where Robert Woods fits in that conversation. Can he build the chemistry with Stafford? So that was the first name that popped up to me. I still think Woods is fine. But, if I was going to have to guess, feet to the fire, Thielen, Woods, any of these guys who are right around 30, I mean, you can make the case probably.
That's a really good question. That was a really good
that is
question.
A great question. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a big Bobby Trees fan, so that one would hurt. I'd have to disagree with you on that one. I also don't think Tyler Higbee is good at all, but that's another story for another day.
Well, no, I mean, Robert Woods has been one of my favorite receivers because he was a good story, man. He worked his tail off. He didn't get treated right in Buffalo, went to LA, finally showed up. You know, I mean, like, yeah, good story.
Fun fact with Robert Woods, he has beat his ADP in every season he's been in the league. That's impressive. Even in the Buffalo years. Clove has a good one. Marvin Jones is a good one.
Oh, yeah, Marvin Jones.
That's a good call.
Oh, yeah, especially where he's at it for everyone that loves LaVisca. I mean,
because we don't know what the hell they're doing down there, right?
Right.
Like, you know, Colin Johnson might be more of a thing than Marvin Jones this year. Who knows? Right. And apparently Urban doesn't like Shark, so who knows?
He's a big guy who played small, is what he said.
He hates everything. Hates everything and everybody. Should be a fun year down in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Old man yells at cloud.
All right, so I know we're getting to the end of the show, but I want to make sure our guest gets their third and final take in. What is your last hot take so we can discuss? Maybe we get to call you an idiot. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so you know what? I was originally going to say top 5, but I'm going to go spicy. I'm feeling frisky tonight. I think Amari Cooper is going to wind up a top 3 fantasy wide receiver this year. He had a electric start. Excuse me. Let me get a little water here real quick. That was a little too spicy.
Yeah, the ghost pepper went straight down your belly there.
We all know the start that Dak had before he went down last year, and Amari Cooper was the main beneficiary. He led the league in reception yards through 4 games with 401. He had 37 catches. He still wound up with over 90 catches with the likes of, I quote, Ben DiNucci, Garrett Gilbert, and Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. People still like to say that he's inconsistent, but he only had 3 games under 10 points last year, and only one of those was with Dak, and that was the game that Dak got hurt. He had over 1,100 yards both of the past 2 years, had almost 100 catches last year, and he still wound up with 5 touchdowns with the quarterbacks that were throwing the ball last year. Yes, we have CeeDee Lamb there, but I think it's going to be a scenario similar to Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen last year, that I think they're both capable of being top 10 wide receivers in fantasy, especially with the way that Dak looked last year. And I think Dak is going to come right back. As much as I hate to talk good about the Dallas Cowboys, Dak is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. There's no denying that. Their defense still has a lot of holes. They're going to be playing a lot of catch up. I am a big Amari Cooper fan. I think people still use Oakland against him and don't give him the credit that's due. And I think that he's going to have a huge year.
I like
one of my takes was going to be that Dak Prescott was going to be the QB1 this year. That was going to be one of them. And I thought that was just a little bit nuts. I'm going against you on this one, partner. I see CeeDee Lamb being the highest finishing fantasy wide receiver in that offense. Did you say what Cooper was when Dak was healthy last year for the 4.5 games? I think he was like wide receiver 5 or 6.
Let me see. He had,
I think he was 6 and Lamb was 11 or 9. Like they were both right up there. Right. So it's not crazy. I think they definitely have that ability to both be up there. I just see CD taking a little bit more of a step. And I agree. The talk about Amari being inconsistent is way overblown. There's talk of his home and road splits. I think that's way overblown. His drops, way overblown. Rick Butts, our founder, wrote an article on that a couple of years back and debunked a large majority of that. And nothing's changed in the last season and a half since he wrote that. So I like Amari Cooper. Excellent value in startup value right now. Like you can get him in the 3rd round, which is nuts. So I like the take. It's just a little too spicy for me. I'm going to have to get a glass of milk on that one.
Man, it's tough because every time I doubt Amari Cooper, I'm wrong.
Yeah, me
too.
So
I don't want to doubt the take because it's a really good take. Like Amari Cooper has that kind of potential, and even looking at that offense, like I like Michael Gallup, I like CeeDee Lamb. I think they all have a role and they all can have well over 100 targets. Like the way that offense is predicated, even last year with crap at quarterback, I know they all had over 100 targets. I don't know how much over, but I know they all had over 100 targets. So I don't hate the take. It's hard to say it's even too spicy because think about what else is out there in terms of kind of the top wide receiver groups and the top wide receivers. they've all had something happen in this offseason. Like when you think about some of those top receivers, things have happened where you're like, okay, I can make the case where Amari bumps himself up. When you said Amari Cooper, I figure top 5. You said top 3, so you're trying to make it extra spicy. I'm fine with the take. I don't know that I want to say that I agree with it. I also don't want to say that I disagree with it, because then it'll be completely accurate and I'll be completely wrong. So
well, go ahead and
say
say that. So then it'll make me look smart. So I'm game for that.
Way to go, Switzerland.
Right, I know, right. I went full Sully tonight. I was not going to. I was just toting the line. Yeah, I like the take. I think, but if you told me that CD Lamb took over as the number one there, I wouldn't be surprised either. So, I'm still, in my mind, I'm still buying the Michael Gallup piece in that offense, because he's still going to get 100 targets and he's going to get better than 50% catch rate, because it's not Ben DiNucci and all these other guys throwing the ball. So if I would want a piece of that offense, I'm going for the cheapest piece, which is Michael Gallup.
And I saw today too, they said they're going to use him in the slot a little bit. So that, especially in PPR leagues, that's going to boost his value up. So I like the Gallup call. And he's a free agent after this year, is he not?
Yeah, I think so. He's like 24.
Yeah, if he winds up somewhere else, where he's going to get some targets, he's a good dynasty target for cheap.
And there's quite an out on Cooper too for the Cowboys after this season. There's a very little guaranteed left. In fact, it might all be used up this year. So Dallas is going to be really interesting to see how they move forward. I think other than Lamb, is it Cooper or is it Gallup that leaves? And does Blake Jarwin have a role coming back this year? Does Zeke catch more passes? It was an offense I wanted every piece of it that I could get last year, and nothing's changed. It's exactly the same. So I want all of them for sure.
There you go. All right, people. I don't know if you think that was hot, but if you didn't think that was hot, let us know. Give us your hot takes in the comments below, because obviously this stream will end here now, but we can chat on. Make sure you post in the comments. If you watch us at a later time, like, subscribe, do all the things you do. Make sure you like and subscribe to Front Yard Fantasy so you can see as much of Jay as possible. If you don't see him on the stream, you may see the people he's booked. You never know. Jay, it's been awesome having you on, man. I really have enjoyed our time together. One more time before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're up to, and promote whatever you want to promote, and then we're done.
Yeah, again, thank you guys so much for having me on. I apologize for having to cancel a few weeks ago. This was a blast. I definitely would love to come back. If you guys will have me, we'll do it again sometime soon. So I am on Twitter at GMenJay. I'm a writer at RotoUnderworld. I have a podcast with Dan, a podcast with Upside. Next Thursday at 8:30, we will have Kate and Michelle from Ball Blast on with us.
Oh, nice.
And then I am the director of Stuff and Things at Front Yard Fantasy. So go in every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, harass the guys, and just tell them that you like the guest. Whoever books the guest deserves a raise. So just
totally does.
So you're going to get 0 moved up a little bit. Eh?
Yep. What's 0 times 0? I'll have to figure that
one out. That's my current wage.
Yeah. Add a few zeros on top of it. Eh?
There you go. Yep. Absolutely.
Time to get Mr. Menendez on there, I believe. I think it's his turn.
I did. Yeah. So now that the kids are off school, I am available from 3 to 4. So
we will make it happen.
I certainly could jump on.
You've had Rick go on and lose. You've had me go on and lose. I can't remember if Craig went on tiers. So that was
right.
Okay.
And Jay Walt's been on for brackets. And he was on for Quiplash one day. So
right. So we saved the best for last, quote unquote. We'll get Brad in there to bring home a championship.
I don't know if you guys saw me last week.
Him and Josh work so well together that I want to see that again. The synergy between those two was exceptional.
It was you could cut the enthusiasm with
the way that you two completed each other's sentences. My heart grew. It was awesome. So
it was beautiful.
We are the best love story there was. Never written.
Absolutely. Jay, thanks, man. I appreciate this.
Thank you guys.
Coming on, and doors wide open here. Anytime you want to come back.
It was a blast. Definitely.
Yep. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jaws, and everybody in the chat. We love you guys. Don't forget, we will be back next week, but also we've been pumping out YouTube shorts. Sully and Joe are working hard on getting YouTube shorts up, giving you some top 5, some quick hitter stuff. So like, subscribe, do all the things so you can get up to date with all that. Check out rotoheat.com, rookiedraftguide.com. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you again next Monday with the IDP show.
Also, right there, playlist. Hit it. Watch the videos. Do it. You want to.